When I tell people that I not only tolerate, but thoroughly enjoy the Beach Boys' discography, almost all of the time, I'm met with absolute bewilderment. You know, the Beatles, people tolerate them most of the time, but really? The Beach Boys? These guys? I'd say that the average listener, especially young listeners, recognize the Beach Boys from their painfully happy and upbeat early hits that capture the California sound aesthetic. Songs like California Girls and I admit, these songs, while catchy, are pretty surface level songs in my mind. The formula of girls, cars, and surfing got the Beach Boys pretty far in the music industry, and it's quite possible that if they really only cared about cashing in on their fame, that these songs would be their only legacy. But then, in 1965, something happened. And that something was Pet Sounds.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older, then we wouldn't have to wait so long? And wouldn't it be nice to live together in the kind of world where we belong?
After many months of composing and writing, Brian Wilson revealed a new album concept to the rest of the band. Mike Love, fellow band member, hated the idea. He's been reported to have said, "Don't fuck with the formula," after he was introduced to Brian's compositions. But the band went ahead and made the album anyway. And by the band, I mean mostly just Brian Wilson. And oof was it expensive. It cost a total of $70,000 to make, equivalent to about $540,000 today, adjusted for inflation. And that's because the recording process was so incredibly intricate and labor-intensive, due to Brian Wilson's perfectionist attitude when it came to making the album. So, what did they make to show for it? Well, simply magical. I don't remember when the first time I listened to Pet Sounds was, but it's consistently been an album that I've come back to time and time again whenever I'm at a loss for words to express what I feel. The songs on the album touch on a variety of topics, from love to isolation, to loss of innocence to general dysphoria. Each track is bathed in melancholy, and a yearning for things to be different, a desire to, even for a moment, escape from the vicissitudes of life.
I know perfectly well I'm not where I should be. I've been very unwell, you've been patient with me.
And for me, this is exactly what the album does. Both the literal active listening and the messages embedded in the album itself, in conjunction, allow you to enter into a state of reverie and reflection. The lyrics are simple, yes, but they're honest and raw. They express a vulnerability that's reinforced by the music structure and composition, particularly whenever repetition and crescendo are used. And part of what makes the sound so unique is Wilson's, at the time, unorthodox use of production techniques which were inspired by the ideas of Phil Spector. Despite the Beach Boys being a rock and roll band, this is barely a rock album. Wilson implements the traditional rock instrumentation, yes, like guitar, bass, and drums, but there's so much more than that. You got jazzy stuff like saxophones and organ. You got orchestral influences like strings and brass and glockenspiel and harpsichord. And then you got a bunch of wild cards like bicycle horns, Coke cans, bongos, ukulele, and a theremin, which was the first time a theremin was ever used on a rock album. The percussion in particular is one of the paramount parts of this album. Oftentimes the percussion is at the forefront of the mix, and given similar treatment to the vocals at points. It's almost as if the songs are trying to express emotions so basic that the only way to get them out is to, well, beat them out. Now, even without the vocals, the album is still wonderfully fun and inventive, with lots of hidden gems. But slap those voice chordings on and, well, you got something really special.
Home, let me go home. Stop the jumping, feel so broken. I wanna go home. Let me go home.
Now, I'm not the greatest music theorist out there by any means, so I'm not going to go into analyzing chord progressions or inversions or whatever. There are plenty of more talented people who've already done that. But just as a layman listener, it just amazes me that Brian Wilson was somehow able to transcend the doo-wop genre and transform the band into, well, a full-on choir. Such a variety in instrumentation, creative use of production techniques, and complex composition makes each song as a whole unpredictable, even though there are a handful of constants that permeate each song. The new sonic landscape that is created through this is oftentimes hypnotic, but in the end it aims to express much more complex and less superficial emotions that rock and roll at the time arguably was largely ignoring, and that pop still today largely ignores. Overall, this album remains to be one of the few pieces of music that have changed my life and my views on music. And its themes, and I guess general aesthetic, are just as relevant today as they were in 1966. That's why you still see these songs pop up every once in a while in things like Baby Driver, for example. The beauty of the album is in its deceptive simplicity. But when you peel back this facade, it reveals music that remains to this day a real treasure. Now I could go on for hours and hours about the music theory and music production of this piece of music, and the contrast between this and their earlier work, but in the end, what all this amounts to is this. Pet Sounds proclaims to the world that this is life. Difficult, confusing, impermanent. But through this lament, a sort of beauty is created, and it makes you realize that, well, it all can't be that bad. The music invites you to go away for a while. It offers the opportunity to recognize and validate your own feelings, and coming full circle, that's where its true beauty lies. I'd also like to invite you to go away for a while, whenever you get the chance. This has been 1C2. Hey y'all, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed my little tribute to one of my favorite albums, and if you didn't, well, I guess sorry. There are a handful of other video ideas that I have in the works, so I hope you enjoy my content, and see you all again soon.